Has the move been completed yet? The movers will arrive in 3 hours. It's Scott's lover, who is trying to kick Nicole and me out of the house. Mandy stole Scott from me. I used to run a salon from home, and losing this house means I also lose my workplace. She intended to take over my salon. However, things didn't go smoothly, and ultimately she will face hardships. I never thought such misfortune would befall me, but at the same time, it's the first time I've been supported by so many people. I feel the importance of having good connections with people more than ever. My name is Kelly Johnson, 45 years old. With my husband Scott Johnson, who is 5 years older, and our middle school daughter, Nicole, makes us a family of 3. We have been married for 15 years. Scott and I met at work, and I quit my job when we got married, but Scott continued working. He has now been promoted to the point where he attends board meetings as an executive director. The reason I quit was not to become a housewife, but to start my own business. I once shared my dream of running a salon with Scott when we started dating. That's a wonderful dream. I want to support you with all my heart. Really? I'm so happy. You're the first to say you'll support me, Scott. I had always been told by family and friends that I shouldn't become an entrepreneur, so his support truly meant a lot to me. Scott actually encouraged me to quit my job and go back to school when we got married. It's a chance to study seriously. Really? Tell the truth, I've wanted to go to school for a long time. I wanted to open a massage salon that supports dieting. This required a substantial knowledge of the body. I discovered I was pregnant right after we got married and attended school while pregnant. On days when I felt unwell, I got to take classes online. With Scott's support, I attended school for 2 years, gave birth to Nicole during this period, and successfully opened the salon at home. Those busy 2 years are vivid in my memory, as if it were yesterday. For Nicole's sake, I worked hard to make the salon successful. This effort paid off, and 3 years later, my schedule was filled with repeat customers. A system where regulars who received maintenance would refer new customers had formed. By the 10th year, the salon had become so popular that it was hard to get a reservation. When the 10th anniversary came, customers and friends celebrated with me. That day, I received a bouquet of flowers from Scott and Nicole and felt truly happy. You've really done well. Thank you. I made it this far because of your support. I appreciated his help and expressed my gratitude to Scott for his support. I have something to tell you. What is it? I've been promoted, and I will become an executive director. I'll be attending board meetings from now on, and it might get busier. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you. At that time, I was confident that our life together would continue to be happy even after Nicole had grown up and left home. However, a few years later, I would discover Scott's betrayal. One day, Mandy Simpson appeared at the salon without notice. She is the daughter of the president of Scott's company. Are you Mrs. Johnson? Yes, that's me. Do you have a reservation? No. I heard about this place from Scotty. Scotty, I am Mandy Simpson. Simpson as in. Mandy looked at me with a smile. No doubt, she was the young lady of the Simpson group. When Scott and I worked at the same company, the president used to bring his elementary school daughter to the office. After graduating from university, Mandy joined the secretarial department through her parents' connections. You're the president's daughter, and yes, I came here today to enjoy some beauty treatments. Really? I'm sorry, but we're fully booked today, and the next availability is in 3 months. I'm really sorry." Upon hearing this, Mandy's expression suddenly darkened. I had a bad feeling and my heart started pounding. "You're turning away a customer who made the effort to come here." "I'm sorry. I'm managing this salon alone, so I can only handle one customer at a time." "Then you should cancel the current reservation and let me in." "That's difficult. It would be rude to the customers who have made reservations." Mandy refused to leave. The next customer was due to arrive soon. I didn't want such a scene to be witnessed at the entrance. "I'm sorry you came all the way over, but could you first make a reservation? I also take cancellations if you can't make it by chance." Then Mandy glared at me angrily and said, "I won't make a reservation. Who do you think would come to such a dirty salon and left, catching a taxi?" I was simply shocked and could only stand there stunned. Compared to a salon that a lady would visit, it might indeed look inferior. But I didn't deserve to be spoken to like that, and felt a bit down. However, the events of that day were not over yet. That night, Scott came home with a furious expression. "Hey, I heard you turned away the president's daughter today." "What?" "The news has reached you already. I'm the one who referred her, so of course it would. But you should have made it clear that reservations are mandatory." "She's the president's daughter, you know." "So what? Being the president's daughter doesn't entitle her to special treatment." I couldn't understand why Scott was so angry. Maybe he was concerned about his career. Mandy isn't involved with the company, and the president doesn't seem that strict. Why are you so upset? And something else I'm curious about. Why does she call you by your nickname? That fact bugged me, so I asked. Scott then showed a clear sign of being disturbed. "She was at the president's golf tournament. The president calls me by my nickname, so she probably does too." The fact that the president calls Scott by his nickname seemed strange to me, but I still didn't understand why he was angry. "Is your promotion that important? Don't you support me? I always supported you. Having the young lady as a client could have boosted your reputation. This salon prioritizes reservations. New customers are important, but regulars are even more so." Hanf. As if a customer who comes once a month would spend much money. At these words, I was at a loss for words. I didn't have the energy to argue further, and I asked Scott to consult me in advance if he intended to make any referrals. "I won't make any referrals anymore." Scott was angry, and we didn't speak to each other at home for a while. I couldn't understand why the matter with the president's daughter had to cause so much trouble. We only started talking again when Scott forgot something. A USB was left plugged into the home computer. When I called, he asked me to bring it to the office. I had several appointments that afternoon, so I hurried to the office. My bad. Scott said that, took the USB, and quickly left. I might have hoped for a lunch together, but nothing of the sort happened, and we parted ways quickly. "Is that you, Mrs. Johnson?" The person who greeted me was a junior colleague who had joined the company when I was still working there. She had become a respectable career woman, which surprised me. "Ms. Adams?" "It's been a while. You seem well settled." "Well, I'm a senior now. Time really flies," I thought. I wanted to chat more, but with customers waiting, I said, "How about we grab a meal sometime? Here's my contact," and handed her my business card. "Thank you. There's something I'd like to discuss, actually." "Something you'd like to discuss?" "Yes, it's a bit difficult to talk about here." She then whispered in my ear, "It's about Director Johnson." "What?" I was concerned about my husband, but we agreed to get in touch later. I felt uneasy. What on earth could it be about? However, a few days later, I witnessed an unbelievable scene. That day, I had gone on a business trip a bit further away. I was visiting a factory to see a prototype of a new lotion for the salon. When I arrived at the station, I saw a familiar car parked. Watching it, I noticed Mandy sitting in the passenger seat. I discreetly observed from a distance. No one was in the driver's seat at first, but soon a man came out of a store and took the seat. It was undoubtedly Scott. He was supposed to be on a one-night golf trip today. I thought maybe it was a competition Mandy was participating in, but something felt off. It was a woman's intuition. Then, in the next moment, Mandy wrapped her arms around Scott's neck and kissed him on the cheek. Scott happily returned the kiss on her lips. They laughed shyly and drove away from the station. I was so shocked that I just collapsed right there. The next day, late at night, Scott came home. "Oh, you're still up. You could have gone to bed. We need to talk." "About what?" "Who did you go on a trip with last night?" "It wasn't golf, was it?" Scott seemed a bit taken aback by the sudden question. "Yesterday, I saw you at the station. You were kissing Mandy in the car." Hearing this, Scott sighed heavily. "Yes, I went on a trip with Mandy." Surprisingly, Scott calmly admitted to the affair, and even more astonishing, said, "Now that it's out, it's easier to talk. I actually plan to wait until next year, but I'm not interested in you at all anymore. I want to marry Mandy soon. Even my mother agrees." I never expected that my mother-in-law had been consulted in advance. For the first time, I realized she was on her son's side. "Are you considering a divorce?" "Yes. I'd be happier coming home to a young wife rather than an older woman like you." Seeing the kiss was shocking enough, but I never expected such a statement. "Let's discuss this with Mandy as well." I managed to say this while desperately trying to maintain my composure. Over the weekend, we invited Mandy over and had a talk. We haven't told Nicole about the situation yet. She might notice that something is off, but being a middle school student, she seems to be considerate and hasn't said anything. We asked Nicole to go out, and the three of us gathered. Scott and Mandy, sitting in front of me, were holding hands. There was no sign of remorse from them. To them, I was just an obstacle now. When did this relationship start? About a year ago, I guess. That long. I hadn't noticed anything over this past year. I remember that Scott got promoted a year ago. When I realized that the late returns home and the weekend outings were all to meet Mandy, anger welled up inside me. After the divorce, I will be taking over the house and the salon. Wait a minute. Even if I leave the house, why should you take the salon too? Well, the salon is attached to the house, isn't it? Are you planning to continue coming here? That's right, but I hadn't thought about not being able to provide services to the local clients anymore. If I leave this house, I have to give up the salon as well. I was so shocked by Scott's affair that I completely forgot about the salon. Even if I have no other choice but to leave, it will be impossible for you to run the salon. I will shut it down. Don't worry, my father will provide financial support, and I will hire staff. I never imagined losing not only Scott but the salon as well. That hurt even more. I want you to sign the divorce papers quickly and leave. I can't wait to live here with Scotty. Yes, I see, but it won't be that simple. Is it a matter of money? I will pay proper compensation. I have the money. That's your parents' money, isn't it? And do you really think your father approves of this? My dad supports everything I do. And with Scotty by my side, there's no problem. Even his mother supports us. I no longer had the energy to delay the divorce. If Scott's decision is this firm, there's no point in clinging to anything. Since I would receive compensation, I decided to proceed with the divorce proceedings quickly and settle everything. However, I was worried about Nicole. Just then, the door burst open, and Nicole entered the room. "Mom, let's leave these people and get out of here. I support you." "Oh, Nicole, not staying with your wonderful father?" "That's fortunate. I didn't want you to be in my way anyways." Nicole stared intently at Mandy. "What do you like about this old man, old lady?" "Old lady? Ma am? I'm only 23 years old." "Oh, is that so? I thought you were older because of the heavy makeup." Mandy trembled with anger. "What kind of upbringing is this?" "I'm sorry. My daughter is just very honest." Mandy left the room trembling with anger, and Scott hurriedly followed her. I apologized to Nicole. "Nicole, I'm really sorry." "It's not your fault, Mom, and you can open a salon anywhere because of your skills." Encouraged by Nicole's words, I resolved to try hard in a new place. I might not have been able to make such a quick decision if it weren't for Nicole. I didn't want her to have anything to do with that woman. The procedures were carried out swiftly. All matters regarding compensation and child support were arranged through a lawyer. I honestly told my salon clients that I was divorcing and leaving the salon. There were words of encouragement from them, as well as reactions of disappointment and anger. It felt like everything I had built was gradually crumbling. Then the moving day came, and Mandy showed up. "Has the move been completed yet?" "The movers will arrive in 3 hours." "That will take some time. There's no need for you to keep watch." While Nicole and I were packing, Mandy wandered around the salon and spent time intimately with Scott. I tried not to let it bother me. When the movers arrived, we successfully moved all our belongings. "Well, this is goodbye from us. Bye-bye." Mandy, arm in arm with Scott, waved at us. I handed her a thick file containing legal documents for the salon. "This is important documentation for running the salon, so make sure to read it carefully." "I understand." Thus began a new life for Nicole and me alone. Using our savings, we bought a used house and set up part of it as a new salon. I was surprised at how many bookings we received after announcing the opening date. Despite the increased distance, many of my regular customers came to visit. Additionally, acquaintances living near the new store spread good word about the salon, and Nicole actively promoted it on social media. Tears spilled over as I realized how many people were supporting me. A month later, the salon was running smoothly. During that time, I received numerous frantic calls from my husband and his lover on my cell phone, which I continued to ignore. However, they even started calling the salon. Hearing Mandy's voice was exasperating. "Hey you've exposed us, haven't you? What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. Scott and my father are in trouble right now." It seemed there was trouble at the company. I didn't need to know the details, but just to be sure, I contacted Ms. Adams. "I would like to discuss something important with you. Are you available tonight?" After work, I agreed to meet her. After your divorce, these photos were distributed among the people in the industry. The photos she presented showed Scott and Mandy having a secret meeting inside the company. What is this? Do you remember when I said I had something to discuss with you? This is it. Since it was right after your divorce, I thought it was no longer necessary. But hearing Mandy bragging about how she ousted you made me lose my patience. Scott and Mandy's affair was already widely known within the company. The president, indulgent towards his daughter, did nothing about her actions. So, I decided to leak this fact to the public. As a result, Ms. Adams and several other employees took photos of Scott and Mandy's secret meetings. Scott and Mandy were careless and were easily photographed. But why you? Because you helped me a lot when I was a new graduate. I felt like crying. Also, I was angry at Mandy, who did whatever she wanted after joining through connections, and at Mr. Johnson and the president for overlooking it. Currently, a corporate affair scandal could be a fatal blow. The public's view of infidelity is harsh, and clients tend to distance themselves quickly. But won't you and your colleagues be troubled if the company faces problems? Don't worry. Our company was set to be acquired by a foreign corporation several years ago, and it's possible to request a transfer to the parent company. It seems that the acquisition of the company had already been decided. This issue has devalued the company, and the sale at a very low price is underway. The president only now got furious about the affair. Scott was urged to take responsibility. However, expectations were low that Scott would take any meaningful action, and he eventually declared he would resign to take responsibility and left the company. Afterward, there was constant strife between the unemployed Scott and Mandy. Mandy tried to return to her parents' home, but her mother refused and actually opposed her marriage, saying, "Don't ever come back once you leave." With nowhere to go and her father busy with company issues, Mandy was largely ignored. Eventually, with no means to live on her own, Mandy became dependent on Scott. Then, another problem occurred. The salon was sued. This was because a customer developed skin problems due to the lotion used. Bad rumors spread quickly, and customers left in no time. Mandy, who was not involved in customer service, decided to blame the employees for the problems that occurred. Angry employees left as a result, and new problems arose. Mandy did not have a massage qualification, and the salon had been viable thanks to the employees. She had never looked through the important documents I handed over when I left the house. However, bookings from customers continued to come in. Unaware customers thought I was still running the salon and visited. As a result, many complaints were lodged with the Consumer Consultation Center, and eventually an audit was conducted on the salon. The salon, which had not followed any operational rules, was forced to close down, and it was unable to refund prepaid vouchers. Mandy's spending was terrible. Having nowhere to go, Mandy visited my salon. "Please help me. I have no one else to turn to." "Why are you asking me for help? Because there's no one else." At that moment, customers resting in the waiting room stood up and confronted Mandy. "You have the nerve to show your face here. Just go back where you came from." One by one, the women who were regulars at my salon and had come from far condemned Mandy. Unable to bear it, Mandy fled back home. The salon she managed soon went bankrupt. What remained were the refunds to customers and unpaid wages to employees. As a result, Mandy took out loans to settle these debts. Her parents refused to assist her, and she was forced to borrow from financial institutions. Meanwhile, Scott still had not found a job and, due to his pride as a former director, was picky about employment. "You should work, even if it's just at a store or something, to make some money." "What? There's no way I would do such work. You should work instead." Such arguments continued to be a regular occurrence. Eventually, unable to withstand the pressure of repayment, Mandy started working as a cashier in a supermarket, and Scott began working as a delivery person. but it was still difficult to repay the debts. Mandy eventually went to her parents' house to beg for help. She promised to repay and created a promissory note. A few days later, Nicole suddenly burst into the house as if fleeing. "What's wrong?" "He's chasing me." "Who?" At that moment, Scott appeared, wearing a delivery service uniform. "What are you doing?" Suddenly, he started apologizing at the entrance. I sent Nicole to her room and decided to talk with Scott alone. "Kelly, I was wrong. I want to start over with the three of us as a family. I'm serious. After you left me and Nicole for another woman, why do you think we can start over? I intend to divorce her." "What? It hasn't even been a year since you got married, right?" At that moment, the doorbell rang, and Nicole came downstairs to answer it. "You're here too." The person who boldly walked into the house was Mandy. "I knew you'd be here." "How did you know?" "The delivery service called me. They said they couldn't reach you. What are you doing, skipping work?" "I want to break up with you." "What are you saying?" Seeing the situation worsening, I urged them to leave the house. "I'm not considering remarrying you. We don't want to be involved with you anymore. So please, never come to this house again." "Wait. If either of you comes here again, I'll report you to the police for stalking. I will never come to this house again." Saying that, Mandy took Scott and left. In the end, Mandy was not considering divorcing Scott, and she did not let go of him. I wondered why Mandy so desperately wanted to stay with Scott. 5 years have passed. One day, when I was feeling unwell from a cold and went to the hospital, I saw a nurse pushing a patient in a wheelchair. The patient was a man in pajamas, unmistakably Scott. I was curious about what had happened, but went home without doing anything that day. When I told Nicole about the incident, she said, "I'll look into it." Nicole still had friends nearby our old address who she could contact for information. From her investigation, it was revealed that Scott had a traffic accident while making deliveries and broke his leg. He had been hospitalized with injuries that would take 3 months to heal fully. Meanwhile, Mandy had left Scott during his hospitalization, leaving behind a divorce notice. She had only been holding on to Scott to ensure the repayment of their debts, and once she realized the medical expenses would be an additional burden, she abandoned him. Scott, now free, promptly signed the divorce papers left by Mandy. However, he was later fired from his part-time job, and his solitary hospitalization worsened his mental state, leading to a depression-like condition. Additionally, the reason Mandy abandoned Scott was that she had a new boyfriend. However, her new boyfriend was severely addicted to gambling and had been misusing Mandy's funds. As a result, Mandy was trying to escape from him. With nowhere else to go, Mandy reluctantly continued living with him. She was also mentally exhausted, and her situation was far from good. Neighbors noticed her severe weight loss and gossiped. "That wife has lost a lot of weight recently." Nicole was fed up with hearing about them and told me, "Don't worry about those people anymore." To Nicole, that man was just someone related by blood, not someone she could think of as her father. After graduating from high school, Nicole attended a beauty school for 2 years to become a nail technician, and after graduating, she has been helping at my salon. She has talked about wanting her own salon in the future, and I allowed her to set up a nail space in my shop, which she has made a reality. Though the divorce put many hardships on Nicole, seeing her work hard and stay positive motivates me to do better myself. Recently, Nicole said something that really touched me. "I want to become an independent adult like you." This was truly a joy to hear, the most valuable thing to me. I feel very happy now. Life cannot be measured by money alone. While there are many wealthy people, there are not as many who are rich in spirit. I want to be a person rich in spirit. That's why I cherish my relationships with those around me and live with a sense of gratitude. As Nicole grows, I too want to continue growing.